Then when science tried to steal God's secrets, the universe in turn took away their reality. It was the last hour of the night. Only one lab was lit in the university's physics department. Inside were 5 people: Dr. Helen, James, Emily, Michael, and Sarah. Their plan was to create a shift point, a place that existed between 2 parallel realities. But today, they didn't want to let it remain just a theory. James said, "Flux generator online." Emily typed into the computer, "Coordinate lock Alpha 19. Omega 6. Helen took a deep breath. "Once we start, there's no going back." Michael smiled and said, "That's what makes history." 6 laser lights began to rotate in the middle of the room. The lights formed a pulsating circle. Sarah said in a low voice, "Gateway forming." Then suddenly, everything went silent, as if time had stopped. Helen took a step forward. "Recording data. Let's step through." The team slowly entered the circle. For a moment, everything dissolved in light, and the next moment, they were standing in another room. The room was exactly the same, but there was complete silence outside. James said, "Power grid down." Sarah peered out the window. There's no one, anywhere. Cars were parked on the streets, but everything was closed. The hospital board was visible from a distance, but the windows were black. Emily said, "Did we shift?" Helen bowed her head and said, "We crossed the point." The team left the lab. The air was heavy as if the wind had stopped. No birds, no sound, as if the world had forgotten to breathe. Michael pointed. "Look at this." A woman stood in the park with her child, but both were still. The child was frozen in the air, her hair in her hands. Sarah's tears came. "Why aren't they moving?" Helen replied, "Because time here is stuck." James checked the device. "Quantum clock still running." "We're not frozen, they are," Emily said in a trembling voice. "So, are we in their world or ours?" Helen said in a low voice. "Neither. We're in between." They got into the car and started to drive back to the university. But at every turn, the city looked the same. The same buildings, the same silent people, the same silence. Then the radio suddenly turned on by itself. A heavy, deep voice came. "You weren't supposed to come here," Sarah shouted. "Who said that?" Michael tried to turn off the radio, but it wouldn't turn off. The voice came again, this time from closer. "You already returned, but not to the right world." The car stopped. Darkness fell. They ran back to the lab. The flux generator was still running. Helen shouted, "We need to reverse the process." Michael said, "Coordinates set to original timeline." The light started spinning again. With a loud jolt, everything went white. When his eyes opened, everything outside seemed normal. Cars were driving. People were moving. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. James said, "We're back." But at that moment, Helen's phone rang. Unknown number. He picked up the call and heard his own voice on the other end. "Dawn, T-move. That's not your world." The phone hung up. The next day, they checked the data. But there was a strange difference in the files. The timestamps were for moments that were yet to come. That is, the data is from the future. Emily said, "Could it be a glitch?" Michael shook his head in the negative. "This isn't a glitch, it's a warning." That night, something happened in Sarah's apartment. The neighbors said that a circle of lights formed outside the window and then she disappeared. The next morning, his apartment was empty. The door was locked. No one was inside. The rest of the team panicked. James said, "Whatever we brought back, it's following us," Emily replied. "It's not following. It replaced us." Helen said, "We need to check the footage." She went to the lab. The flux generator was off, but there was a video file on the computer. She played the file. 5 shadows appeared on the screen, just like them. They were passing through the gate, but when they looked from the outside, they never came back. That is, the team outside was not the real one. Emily said tremblingly, "Then who are we?" A voice came from the back corner. "You're what was left behind." The temperature of the room dropped. The flux generator turned on automatically. Their faces began to distort as if they were being split into 2 worlds. Michael shouted, "Shut it down." Helen hit the control, but the light burst out, and everything went white. When the light dimmed, only Helen was on the ground. All 4 colleagues were gone, but their shadows were imprinted on the wall. The flux generator was off, but a line was written on the screen. "Simulation stabilized. Subjects integrated." Helen backed away. She walked out of the lab. The same silent people on the street there were. The same silence. The same frozen faces. She looked up at the sky where another world flickered in the distance. Helen screamed, "Let me out! This isn't real!" 5 shadows appeared in a circle of light in the sky, just like them. One shadow said, "You opened the door. Now you live here." The light burst out. and Helen also became silent. The next day, security footage showed 5 people entering the lab, but no one came out. At the end of the file was only one line: end of log, shift successful. If you think that unlocking the secrets of the universe is knowledge, then remember that some doors are only for looking at, not for going through. This was the story's shift point. If you liked this terrifying journey, then subscribe to Cursed Narratives, because here, every story takes you beyond reality.